All right, guys. So, welcome to the first AMA for the Haunt Nation. I'm Jared from Return of the Living podcast, here with Alan Hops, the show director for Dark Hour Haunted House and legend in his own right. So, we're stoked to have you on the first AMA, sir.
I'm very glad to be here.
Awesome. So, we'll hop right to it. And guys, if you're just catching the YouTube link I posted somewhere, you can go into the event group on Facebook, which I'll post on our Twitter in a second, and we're asking you to put all your questions in there so we can get things going. So I'm just going to start at the top of the list here. So the first question I thought was fun was from, I asked him how to pronounce his name, he hasn't responded, so I apologize, Philip, if I butchered this, but Philip Chalut
It's
asked,
Shalou. I know that guy.
Chalut. Oh,
Phil
okay.
Shalou. Yeah.
Philip Chalou. Okay, cool. So he asked, what is the strangest, surprisingly effective prop you have seen used in a haunt?
Oh boy. I've seen a lot of stuff. Um, Effective as in scary, probably strange. I would definitely say a black garbage bag. Jim Warfield at a Ravens Grin Inn just north of Chicago, about an hour north of Chicago. It's kind of a one-man show. It's a year-round haunted house. It's a tour. It's a haunted house. It's a very strange place. Very strange guy. But he has one where he has everybody's attention and he has them gathered and he has their focus on one side of the room and he just pops a black garbage bag. It scares the hell out of the whole group every time. It's pretty neat. And that was kind of a trigger for me that, it's what you do after that initial startle that'll make it. And he lets them off the hook right away with a big laugh, which is really cool.
Awesome, I think that. Black trash bags, underused prop in the haunt world. We've got John Budzinski, I want to say. Sorry, John, if I ruined your last name too. Are there any props or scenes that you consider too over the top? In other words, what, if anything, would you consider taboo? I guess is yeah.
Well, I'm pretty safe as far as that. I guess I'm conservative when it comes to that. I don't like doing nuns. I don't mind doing an evil priest. I have no idea why I feel that it's different, but I won't do evil nuns. I don't want to do possessed nuns. I don't like doing that. I don't mind doing a priest every now and then. We had one here for our exorcist themed show, Summer Spirits. But I stay away from religion. I kind of stay away from babies. You have to work your way into babies. You can't have a surprise dead baby right away. I don't do suicides. I try not to have a CNN haunted house. And that means if you can see it on the news, I don't want you to see it in my show. I want there to be an element. If there's a dead body in my show, it's because a werewolf killed it. No one's uncle was killed by a werewolf. So no one's going to go through the show and have a bad emotional experience, aside from getting scared, which is what I want. So I avoid suicides. I don't do any, people shooting themselves in the head. I know a lot of haunts, and I love that other haunts do it. I'm not saying that nobody should do it. It's just not my style. I like monsters.
Dig it, dig it. So I've always been a fan of the supernatural side of things myself, monsters and things like that, and some props that you see at Transworld are just insane.
Yeah, lately I've become careful of. I don't say I like horror movies. I say that I like monster movies. If it doesn't have a monster in it, I'm not interested. If you put Godzilla and he crushed the Hostel House, that would be a good movie. But just watching the Hostel House, not so good to me.
All right. So I agree. I'm the same way. I've got like an affinity for bad '80s monster movies and stuff like that, and I can't get into too much of the new stuff.
Just some of the best.
Let's see. So I've got a question here. Good question from Lynette Taylor Brown. She asks, "What is your best advice for home haunters who are transitioning into pro haunting or to becoming a pro haunter?"
Absolutely. My advice for a home haunter wanting to go pro: start small. never borrow money to open a haunted house. That's my opinion. I think you should start with a small show, start with a modest show, and then have your audience fund your growth, as it said. If you had a donation box out, and that last year that you're a home haunter, and say you get $1,000, well, that $1,000 should be your budget for that next year when you open and when you go pro, because that way you're going to live within your means, and people will continue to fund and grow the show.
Awesome advice there. So, and that's actually unique. So,
you know what? The first haunt that I owned, I approached a farmer and I said, "Can I use this patch of woods by your cornfield and do a haunted trail?" And it was in Maryland, and he said, "I said, you set up a stand, you sell hot dogs, hot chocolate, and apple cider." And he did that, and my admission was $5, and it was werewolf themed because I had 3 werewolf costumes, and that was it. But people walked around. It was a 10-minute walk. It was $5, and he made enough money off of selling hot dogs. He said, "I don't need any of your admission. I made good money selling hot dogs. I hope you do it again next year." I didn't. I ended up moving away, but it was cool, and it didn't cost anything. You have to work at, find angles like that. An outdoor trail, there's no problem with starting humble. Have an outdoor trail. I can make a cool haunted house with 10 friends in costumes, but I can't make a cool haunted house with 10 awesome sets. You really need to have, characters. That's what drives it. And characters are kind of cheap.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. There's tons of farms or people that own private property everywhere. You never know what they might say if you ask.
Yeah, so, agritainment. It's another bump on them,
Excellent. So these people that I'm about to ask the questions now, they asked questions as early as last week. So got a handful of these here. This one is from Scotty Cole on Facebook. It's, do you have any advice for a young haunter like myself? What are common mistakes that young haunters make?
Okay. The common mistakes that young haunters make now are different than the mistakes that the young haunters of my generation made. I think that owning a haunted house seems so accessible because on the internet, everything is instant to today's youth. They don't have to wait for anything. So one of the things that you have to gear yourself up for is wait to own a haunted house. When I was 16, 18, 20, I didn't have a desire to own my own haunted house. I worked very hard at other people's haunted houses, learning everything that I could, and I got paid to do it. If you are going to open up your own haunted house at the age of 16 or 18 or even 20, and you own it, you're going to be paying for a lot of mistakes that you could have learned working for somebody else and saved yourselves a lot of time and trouble. So I think it's patience. To be a really good haunted house actor, I think you kind of have to go through a cycle. And part of that cycle is you work inside the haunted house for a while. I like for actors to don't even speak the first year you work. Make animal noises, grunt, become a master of physicality. Tell the story you want to tell, say whole sentences, have conversations with body language. Learn that body language, and then you can put in words. Then you can start talking and speaking and saying threats. And then you can start painting a picture with words and invading people's heads by, forcing them to think of pictures with words. And then from there, then you can really direct people, and then you can go into a greeter role. I was 19 before I started greeting, which was, I guess late because I started at 10. So it was 9 years of me being the Wolfman a lot of the times. That was, I'd show up to a haunted house with a duffel bag, and I had my Wolfman mask in it and my costume. And I said, "I'm going to be the Wolfman at your haunted house if you want me. That's all I want to do. If you don't want me, that's fine. I'll go somewhere else." Normally they said yes. And then a couple years into it, I started saying, "And I'd like to be paid, please." And it ended up where I was. It worked out.
Awesome. So good advice for you, sir, Mr. Cole. So thanks for the question. Got another question here from a Daryl Cockrell. He asked, "Alan, Do you still do YouTube Wednesday? And if so, do you take regular breaks from it or what? Am I missing out? Thanks for doing what you're doing. My buddy James Wilson and I have learned so much from your work.
Uh, Honestly, when we opened Dark Hour, I got so busy I just had to stop for a little while. Doing a weekly YouTube video that is instructional in nature. I take time and I edit my videos. It's an 8 to 10 hour block of time every week, and I just didn't have that when Dark Hour was opening. So there was about a year and a half or so where I didn't do any videos. I started back up again. I think I'm 10 or 11 in. And so that's weeks in a row that I have uploaded videos. If you're a subscriber, then go to my channel and subscribe, and you should get a notification every time that I upload a video. But it's every Wednesday, normally Wednesday morning.
All right, awesome. Where can just while we're on the topic, where can people? Do you have anything specific they should search for on YouTube when they're looking for your channel?
If you put in Stilt Beast Studios, Alan Hops, I'll pop up. What I've started doing in order to make those searches easier is now when I tag my videos, I always tag Alan Hops in them. So if you search for me, my videos will come up now.
All right, awesome. And then next question here is from Sandra, I'll say Sandra Huard. Have you ever had self-doubt about going into the haunt business? And if you did, how did you fight through that self-doubt?
No, I never did, because I haven't done anything else. I just started doing haunted houses. I knew at a very young age that's what I enjoyed doing. I love monsters. I love Halloween. I loved how I felt when I worked at the haunted house. So that's what I did. And there was never any doubts, because that's what you do, and if it's what you do and there's no other option to do anything else, then no, I didn't have any doubts. I'm a haunted house guy, so I'm going to do haunted houses. Might I have to work as a garbage man for 6 months in order to live and get to the next build season? Maybe, but I'm still a haunted house guy, and I'm picking garbage that I can use in my haunted house. If I worked for UPS, if I did that, then that's funding my haunted house. I'm still working on getting into the haunted house business. Maybe you have a haunted house and you happen to have a side job. That's fine. Until your haunted house hits probably 15 to 20,000 people, you'll probably need to work, because it's a big cost in doing a haunted house. So get that attendance up, and then you can just do haunted houses. And it's a scary leap to make. But if it's the right one for you, eat some ramen and, do your haunted house. That's what I've always done. If maybe I've not lived in the best apartments or the best places or had the most money for a lot of my life, but I've been happy, and in the end, it's working out because I just keep doing what I'm doing, just keep swimming. No reason for self-doubt. Never doubt yourself. Just keep going, get better. Be better than you yesterday. If you can keep doing that, you're writing a success story.
Awesome. That's sound life advice, even, Chandra. So that's awesome. Thanks for the good question. And our next question comes from Kathleen Keegan Winfield. She says, I am extremely technologically challenged. What are some of your best old school scares and props that don't involve a lot of fancy gadgets or electronics, like old haunted house techniques, etc.? Simple stuff.
I don't trust electronics and gadgets. To me, I think they're going to fail. My assistant director, Jake Farmer, he's awesome. He's very tech inclined, and he always sees, well, we can build this scare for an actor, but the actor might not be there. They might be on break. They might be going to the bathroom. So then that'll be missed. And if you set up an actor and they're gone, that sucks. People notice that hole. But if an animatronic doesn't move, they just think it's a static. Whereas me, I know how much I had to invest in that animatronic. So if it doesn't move, I feel ripped off. But you don't have to be technologically inclined. My favorite scares are ropes and pulleys. You have one actor and he's kind of in a box. He's got a couple curtains to hit as the group has to move around him going through the show. And he might have a rope that lets go of a coffin lid. The best scare in Terror on Church Street. a year-round haunt that I worked at in Orlando. You're on the other side of the wall looking at a peephole. You're holding a rope, which is holding a coffin lid open, and you would let go of the rope and the lid slams down. It got a scream every single time, and it was just a rope and a pulley. And you can do 30 of those. Another one at Skull Kingdom. That's the Hat. I worked at that show. It was a year-round show in Orlando. The actor was hiding behind the door, and before he came out, he would kick a garbage can across the floor, a metal garbage can. Made a hellacious noise, and that was the jump start that got the group really scared when that actor came out, because they were running from that noise, and they looked, and they, when they say, "What the heck was that?" they turn and look, then you're coming after them, and it just really kept them on the move. So it was a great way to build it. But ropes and pulleys, just let a rope go and make it slam down. Awesome.
All right, excellent. So that's just be creative too. I mean, that's excellent advice. So first haunt I worked at was pretty old school in nature. We had a lot of pulley stuff as well. Can't go wrong. And then I have one from actually our colleague and admin of the Haunt Nation, Kristen Worf. She says, Alan, what are your favorite types of characters to see in haunted houses? And if you could be any type of horror character for the rest of your life, what would you be?
Oh boy, I think I'm really big on classic Halloween. I like scarecrows and witches and wolfmen. I'm kind of getting back on the vampire train. I jumped off the vampire train. I think with everybody else, with the I can't think of the movies now. Twilight movies. They really kind of vampires quite a bit for everybody. But I'm kind of getting back on that. It's classic things, real classic characters, classic monsters, things that make you think of Halloween. For a long time, the industry steered away from Halloween. It was all asylums and hospitals and things that just didn't have a lot to do with Halloween. They were scary situations and things, but they weren't Halloween. So I guess if I could be one, I've wanted to be a werewolf, I think, since I was a kid. I don't even think, I know. I wanted to be a werewolf when I was a kid really bad. To me, I thought that was, I love nature. There's strength. There's freedom. There's the ability to change. I read a great book called The Dark Twins a while back, and it's how every horror story is either Frankenstein or the Wolfman. It's evil that men made or the evil inside of men. And I think the Wolfman, to me, is just the purest of, there's a monster inside of me. And I think that's badass,
Awesome. So though I can relate there, Wolfman is my favorite monster in horror movies. So huge fan. Gotta love the classic too with Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I'm going through. I'm trying to catch up with myself here. Too bad. This is another one from Chandra Huard. I recently offered a barn at a local farm that was a corn maze to do my haunted house. They would like us to eventually set up a haunted hayride. What would you put in a haunted hayride?
I think that you work with your environment. So if you're going through the woods, work with stuff that works in the woods. And I always think it's funny when you do a haunted trail and they want to have an insane asylum theme. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. You don't have an insane asylum. A lot of those, you have to work really hard to make that work. So the number one thing, you're going to have scarecrows. Do scarecrows in your haunted hayride. There's some classics there. Do witches in your haunted hayride. That always works out in the field, always works in the woods. There's a number of gags. On a hayride, you want to kind of scare the whole wagon at once. You're out in the woods, do werewolves. You can have your chainsaw maniac. You can have your cannibal family. You can set up a moonshine still that people go by. So just work on things that work in an outdoor setting. If the scene for these characters isn't outdoors, then you probably shouldn't throw them in your show. I think clowns can be a stretch. If you're going to bother to build a clown tent, okay, that makes sense. Maybe you're going through the circus camp. and so you could do that. You could do a whole circus theme if you wanted to work at it and do those sets. But anything that works in an outdoor setting. Spiders are scary. Those are great for hay rides. Have them go under a giant web with and the guy holds the rope and he lets it go and it drops down over top of the wagon. Not all the way to cover them up and get snagged, but just enough to make them all duck and scream. It's a fun scare.
Awesome. So our next question is from Mike Quill. What are the keys to effective actor training?
Oh,
that's going to be a long answer, I'm sure.
The keys to effective actor training, not to effective acting, but you have to. There's two things that you have to do. You have to get their attention, and you have to make them give a damn, make them care. Normally, I try to challenge them to find a reason to love haunted houses. Find a reason to love it. Doesn't matter what your reason is, but the pay isn't enough. The time isn't. The time you put in, you don't get enough reward for that. You have to find a reason to love haunted houses, and that's what's going to make the job worth it to them. So if you can capture their attention and make them love what they are doing, then you are effectively training actors. Actors come in many levels and many sizes. Never ask a duck to play a giraffe in your haunted house because it's going to be out of place and weird. And never ask a giraffe to play a duck in your haunted house. And by that, I mean there's body types and personality types, and you have to know what those are and cast your show effectively. If you can look at an actor, talk to an actor, get a measure of them, and learn what they're all about, then you're going to be able to put them in a spot to give you a great performance inside your show. If you just have, all these round holes and all your actors are square pegs and you don't adjust your show to make it work for them, it's not going to work. You're going to lose them. So training the actor is, in a way, altering the environment so that actor can be successful.
Awesome. And this next question is from Travis Bowling. He is owner and operator of a haunt in Kentucky called 7th Street Haunt. He asks, in the last few years, we've seen a huge influx of much more physical haunted houses. What do you think will be the next big thing to happen to the haunt industry to keep it fresh and exciting in the public's eye?
Well, you have zombie paintball, which is coming in. That's kind of a hayride only deal. And right now, at the same time, you're getting the laser tag inside of the shows where mostly they're doing this off season. But they're having, there's laser headbands and you go through the show and you shoot the zombies inside of the show. Escape rooms are getting to be huge. But I honestly think the next big thing is going to be a return to Halloween. There is a reason why haunted houses exist. There's a reason why we do it. And there's something magic about the Halloween season and the smell of autumn leaves and just that crispness in the air that even in Texas, a couple nights of the season, I get that. I smell it. I feel it. It's autumn. It's fall. And being able to immerse your guests and remind them that they're here because it's Halloween is going to be a success for the industry. You can have a zombie show any month. You can have a chainsaw massacre themed show any month. Make it interactive, make it interesting. People will come for it. But when you get to haunted houses, Halloween season, you would think that Grim Reapers and skulls and graveyards would go out of fashion. But there's a reason why every home haunter, their first projects are tombstones and graveyard fences. That's classic Halloween. I think that classic Halloween has this whole big wave. The internet is causing this wave of home haunters to turn into pro haunters. I think they're going to take some of those classic Halloween ideals and make some really cool shows that remind the guests, damn it, this is Halloween, and Halloween is pretty awesome.
Awesome. So that would be awesome too. I sure hope you're right because there's something about classic Halloween stuff that I guess it just makes me super happy. I'm sure everybody in the haunt industry is the same, so it'd be cool to see more of a
You know,
classic thing come around.
if you have a house in your show, or the house or a front porch, put a pumpkin on the porch. If you have a chance to put a black cat in the show, put a black cat in the show. It's Halloween. Remind them why they're there. And I think that that will be a reward to you that your guests will then associate you with Halloween. I don't associate insane asylums with Halloween because they're just, okay, maybe, I don't. But, scarecrows, cornfields, black cats, witches, that's got Halloween all over it.
All right. So our next question here is from Brett O'Gwen or Gunn. I can't. Sorry, Brett. It's what is your favorite outdoor haunt scene that you have created or seen at a haunt?
Favorite outdoor haunt scene. Okay, I did a haunted house that took place in an alley behind the Renaissance Festival, and it was, the whole haunt space is like 30 feet wide, but it's 200 feet long. So you go down one side, you turn around, and you come back, and that was the show. I think we did a bungee scare there that was very successful. It was, kind of an island box, and your actor's on one bungee point. A lot of the bungee systems now, they're on two sides, so you jump out, you come right back to the same spot. Well, if you're on one point and you build an island for the person to stand on, they can jump off on all three sides. And the show was called Infestation. It was a bug themed show. And you were inside the building at first, and the way you got into the haunt in the back was they slid a refrigerator open. The refrigerator's hanging on a track. So the actor slides the refrigerator out of the way because all the bugs live behind the refrigerator. So he sent the guests behind the refrigerator. They go through that crack in the wall. But as soon as the refrigerator slides open, they all had those little clacker things, the two hands that are slapping together. And so when the fridge opened up, all the actors were back there going, and you hear all these bugs. And a lot of people just chickened out right there because it was really creepy sounding. But in that, we had the bungee scare. And that actor could jump off of any point or just lean forward and get nose to nose with people. And that's a highlight because the actor had claw hands. I mean, it was really cool looking scare. And they were kind of like half spider monster.
Awesome. All right. So some good outdoor haunt tips. Spiders and bugs are always a winner.
You know what? One more. I remember one more thing. At Spooky World, they had a falling billboard at their hayride. So you think it's done, and you're heading down that home track, and there's this big billboard for Spooky World. And as you're driving by it, you think, this is it. That's the end. It's brightly lit. Then the billboard just starts to fall, and everybody in the wagon screams. So it's outdoor. Like, if that counts, that's a pretty fine scare.
Awesome. So, and that was on a billboard?
It was a big fake billboard that they built, and it was all set up to fall over, and then chains stopped it. But it went down to about a 45-degree angle, and that's enough for everybody in that wagon underneath of it to really freak out.
Awesome. So our next question here, I'm scrolling through. People keep posting more, so I'm losing my place. Bear with me, guys. This one's another one from Philip Shalou. It's, what is your favorite haunted house memory and why?
Oh, man, my favorite haunted house memory. At this point in my career, a lot of it blends together. But I had the pleasure of being a roamer at a very awesome haunted attraction in Waxahachie, Texas, called Screams. They have 5 haunted houses. It's a big show, really good attendance, and it's a great show. It's a lot of fun. And when you're a roamer there, the park is on about 30 acres. So your main job is to hit all the queue lines and entertain the people. And another friend of mine who was playing a character named Dolly Molly, we had chased a guy on and off all night because, he'd come out of a haunted house or he'd come out of hiding. We'd find him. We'd chase him to one spot. We'd chase him to another spot. But because I worked there during the day, of course, I had a golf cart to get around because working on all those haunted houses, and I had it parked out by the gate. So as he was leaving for his car, me and Dolly Molly got into the golf cart and kind of drove him down and took it all the way out to the parking lot. He hid in his car. It was a great time. That customer's name was Dennis, and I will never forget it.
Excellent. This one is from Carolyn Reese. I guess she's referring. Oh, she says it in the question. Did you celebrate Halloween by trick or treating, or did you like to decorate, dress up, and stay at home when you were a kid? Sub question: what was your favorite candy for trick or treating when you were a kid?
All right. So first, I trick or treated till I was about 10, and then I started working in haunted houses. So that meant trick or treat was over, and the season had changed for me. It meant something different. But I did trick or treat. I didn't stay home and give out candy. I had a sister who's 2 years older than me, so we would go out and trick or treat. That was a lot of fun. My mom would drive us to good neighborhoods, and Reese's peanut butter cups were the candy of choice. That was the holy grail. Normally the individuals, it was you never got the two together. You got one Reese's cup, but that was pretty awesome.
Awesome. This one, I don't know if this is an inside joke or anything you'll recognize, but it looked interesting and weird, so I'm going to ask it anyway. This one is from Cody Dwayne Robbins, and he asks, I've been wondering for a very long time, would you fight it? I have no idea what it is.
On friends with me on Facebook, anytime there's a statue of a monster or almost any kind of statue, it could be an elephant, it could be anything, I'll normally take a picture with it with my fist up, and the picture will say, I want to fight it, whatever it is. I've always liked fighting. Fighting is fun. Yes, Cody, I would fight it. Whatever it is, bring it.
This one is from Tanya Newberry Gabarol. She says, I purchased a $10 airbrush from Harbor Freight. Now I need to get the air compressor. I plan on learning and building more and more props. What air compressor should I buy and set up?
If you want to do big air props, then get yourself a decent compressor. Get a 5-gallon compressor. You can get a 5-gallon compressor for $100. It's not uncommon. Spending $200 on an air compressor will get you a better one. A small air compressor just for airbrushing is going to cost you, $70 or so at Harbor Freight, but it's well worth it to just get a bigger, better air compressor right off the bat that you can use for other things. Because that little air compressor one, it won't run a paint sprayer, but the other one that you get will. So, up your $70 to up at $30 to $100 and get a decent 5-gallon or 3-gallon pancake air compressor. You can get used ones for, about the same price as an airbrush compressor. A good airbrush compressor is going to run you $200 or $300 anyway. The Harbor Freight one, I don't recommend their air compressors. I recommend their airbrushes, but not their compressors.
Awesome. So there you go. And then this one, I apologize about the names in advance, guys. This one is from Hema Matu. She asks, when switching haunts, is it possible to become a manager at the new haunt you switch to, even if you haven't previously worked at that haunt, but you have worked in an acting position at previous haunts? So I guess she's trying to get into a management position somewhere. How would you go about, what things would you look for if you were going to, if you think it's possible just to hop into a managing position at a new haunt, I guess is what she's asking.
Is it possible? Yes. The answer to your question is yes, it's possible. If you are there and you feel a need, if you have the confidence that you need to have that position, then you could meet their needs and fulfill their needs at a new haunt right off the bat. Not uncommon, happens all the time. Now, do I think you should do that? No. I think that you should, if you're going to a new haunted house and you haven't been in management before, I think you should act for a year. Take that year, act, get a lay of the land, and let them know, I want to be in management here. I don't want to do it right now, but I want to work in every house you have. And I want to work in as many positions as possible so I understand them when I do get to make that move to management. I think being in the trenches is something that will garner respect for you and pay off major dividends when you do get to management. When dark hour is open, as often as not, I get in the show. Whenever I can, I'm in the show. I give myself a spot or a section, and I'm running around, I'm scaring people inside the show. Sometimes I can't. I have to be outside. I have to be, one of my outside characters like Carl or whatever. But if I can, and I can get away with it, I want to be inside the show, right there with my staff, scaring people. And then at the end of the night, I can say, oh my gosh, did you see that guy come through? And I'll say, yes, I did. Here's what he did in my room. Here's the crazy thing that happened. And you don't get those stories managing. Instead, you ask drunks to leave, and you tell people, I'm sorry, you cannot vape in the line. And that's just not as much fun. So don't rush into management. People think they want to be in management. That's not the superstars of the show. The superstars of the show are not the actors who work outside or the managers. It's the actors who are inside the show who are seen for 5 seconds at a time and get to make nightmares in the guests. That's the faces they're going to remember. That face that jumps out of the darkness and into the light for a second, it gets burned into their brain. And that's the power of a haunted house. And that's where I want to be whenever I can, so I can destroy the people who come through. I can't do that outside. I can't do that as a manager.
And that's an excellent answer. I think most people that are in management too kind of always have that pain of regret that if they're too on those nights, they're too busy to get in the haunt anyway. So,
but it's easier. It's easier. You stand there and you watch for things, and most of the time you're not on. In the haunted house, you're on all the time, and you have to listen for those cues. And the next group, you never know when it's coming. It could be right on the heels of the next one. You could have 3 groups at the same time, and you got to think fast. And I think that kind of heat forges a fast thinker and just a good haunt worker. And if you want to be in management, sometimes that's a great reason not to put you in management. Honestly, the person who should be in management, in my opinion, should be someone who wants to do every job, but they happen to be the best person for the job at the time. So don't strive to be management at a haunted house. There's no glory in that. It won't get you any more Facebook friends. It doesn't matter. Just go there and scare people. It's awesome and fun.
All right, awesome. So our next question is actually from one of the admins for the Haunt Nation group and co-host of mine, Bradley Allen Bamforth. He asked, and background on this I know because I know him so well. We come from, we're here in Louisville, Kentucky. We come from an area where the haunt we started at was very much other haunts are out to get our secrets. And so his question is, in a haunt industry that still contains secrets, what made you decide to share so much with other haunters?
I will gladly give everybody my secrets because I keep making them. The best way to exercise a muscle is to use it. So if I give you my ideas, more ideas are going to take their place. I think that's one of the simplest ways to put it. If I hold on to an idea and I keep it in my brain and hold it, then it doesn't affect the world and it doesn't get out of the nest, allowing the next generation to grow. And the benefit of giving ideas is exponential, because I may share a sculpting technique with you guys. I may share that sculpting technique, and then I'll get a Facebook message or a message on my comments in YouTube that says, you know what, I did that, and then I did this thing. It led me to this thing. And then that's an idea that I stole from them because, oh, awesome, thanks for sharing. Now I'll do that. Look at the internet. The internet, just by showing what you do, it gives other people ideas. I don't think haunts are getting worse because of the internet and people seeing all the ideas and seeing all the pictures and all the marketing and all of the prop building that people are doing. No, haunts aren't getting worse because of that. They're getting better. We're honing ourselves. So the more you share your ideas, the more every haunt gets better. I want every haunted house to be awesome. Because if a customer goes into a bad haunted house, they might not go into another one for 10 years because they didn't enjoy it. I don't like haunted houses. But if they go into a great haunted house, they might look for a different haunted house the very next weekend and bring 5 friends. So that's something that I think that we need to be aware of, is that all haunted houses should be good. I don't want a haunted house in the same town as me, in the same state as me, to suck. If that haunt sucks, it's going to turn people off of haunted houses. It's amazing to me. I talk to hundreds of people every year, and they say, oh, it's my first time at a haunted house. Or I went to a haunted house 8 years ago. I didn't like it. And it took them that long to get back. So be good. You know, if their haunted houses are all good and inviting and welcoming and fun, then a guest might go to a different one the next night. So work together, be friends, share ideas. If I don't share my ideas, how do I know that the haunt next door to me doesn't have the exact same stuff as me? If I tell them what I've got and they tell me what they've got, I can avoid that. And that's as big a benefit as, you know, well, they have this real cool thing where a guy gets hanged and his feet turn into spiders and run after you. Well, I'm not going to put that in my haunted house because they've already got that. So knowing what your competition has is a benefit. That way you're not all having the same thing.
Excellent. So we're big advocates too of, I mean, if one haunt does a great job, that's just going to get haunt goers the opportunity to say, that was a really great show. What else is in the city? Where else can we go to re-experience something a little different too? So if one haunt does well, every other haunt's going to do well. This is another question from Kristen Worth. She asks, I would like to know how Alan juggles all of his duties, his home life, haunt life, props and mask company, hobbies, appearances, etc.
I would like to know how also, please. You know what? I just keep doing it. You just keep doing stuff. There are some nights when I get home from work, and haunted houses are it's my job, dark hour haunted house. I'm the director there. And often I'm here till 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then I head home and I don't like not learning stuff. So I think that's a big driver for me. I can go into the workshop and I'm producing something and I'm learning something. Because if I do the same thing even over and over again, I get better at it. I get faster. And but if I go home and I sit on the couch and I watch TV, I'm not producing anything. I'm not learning anything. Consume more than you eat is a good way to think about your work ethic. No, produce more than you consume. That's the words I was looking for. Produce more than you consume. I really screwed that up. But yeah, so produce more than you consume, meaning you're putting out more than you're taking in. When you're sitting in front of the TV, you're taking in. And if you're going to just complain about it later and how bad the TV show was or how bad the content was or how bad the movie was, why did you eat it? Why did you consume it? I would much rather make monsters that I think are cool than watch lame monsters being made on TV or watching lame sitcoms that somebody made for TV. I think that I have a production mindset. I want to make stuff. My new slogan is go make stuff, because if you can do that, then you are benefiting the world. You're putting something positive out there. Almost no matter what you're making, you're putting something positive out there. So just keep going. If I'm tired, through YouTube and stuff, a big part of my day now is actually on the computer. I've got to answer back YouTube messages. As a director, I get, maybe 20, 30 emails a day that need to be answered. There's a lot of computer work that needs to be done. So budget computer time to not be time wasted, but time spent where you are getting something done. I guess, but budget your time, make stuff, produce. I would rather do things than not do things.
Yeah, it's a haunt life is a crazy life, that's for sure. I don't know. I know Kristen's super busy, so I'm sure she wanted to ask. It's insane to juggle everything.
You know what? Don't put value in rest. Put value in what you produce. Then there's no benefit to sitting on your butt 5 hours, because you can sit on your butt 5 hours and turn the TV on, and before you know it, the night is gone. And you could have done a sculpt. You could have made a mask. You could have. You'll never make the best thing if you don't make a thing. So take the time to make a thing, no matter what it is. You're producing, you're putting out, you're giving to the world, which makes you more whole. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Ask me another question.
All right. This one's from another co-host from the podcast. Corey Kirkpatrick asks, what are some of the oddest things you've turned into props?
Oddest things. Boy, there's some regular everyday objects that I use a lot. I love the 5-gallon stir sticks from Home Depot. Those are good, sturdy things. I use those a lot for stuff. Plastic garbage bags and plastic tarps. You could do miracles with those in a heat gun. You could make a real cool cannon out of a garbage can. Everything is a prop. If you know how the world works, and that every object is merely form and function, then if I need a bell, I'm looking for something in the form of a bell as a prop. I don't need it to function like a bell, because I can have that on a speaker. If I need it to function like a bell, then I don't care how it looks. So having a mindset, and one of the things I call it is paper doll thinking. I'm probably going overboard, so if you want to stop me, stop me. But paper doll thinking is, if you can imagine a paper doll, and you have the paper doll here, and then the dress just flips in front of the paper doll, and then a different dress comes off and goes on. That's how I look at objects. I look at a ball that I can buy, a kid's ball I buy at Walmart, and I think of it looking like it's steel. And then I think of it looking like it's iron. And I think of it looking like it's stone. Or I think, what is this ball part of? Is this bowl half a ball? Is this ball, is this bowl part of a ball and socket joint? So every object has a form and a function. And as long as you get the form, function, and texture right, it can be anything that you want it to be. So what I look at a prop you want to make, what are its shapes? Get those shapes, put them together, and then make it look right. You can paint anything. I probably went way off the base with that one.
No, I mean, that's excellent advice on anything. It's that out-of-the-box thinking as far as objects don't need to really necessarily be what they are. They just need to look like what they are. So,
that's right.
Or supposed to be, look like what they're supposed to be.
Actually, every day we have a work list for dark hour, what people's jobs are, what we're doing, and then a list of, if you get done, you can do these other things. And I put a quote on there every day. And when I was just out of town, I was at Scare LA, and the quote that Jake put on, it was, "It doesn't matter how it looks in regular light, it matters how it looks in show light." Because in show light, things change. And to do too much more work can be a waste of time. So that's something that you have to be careful of. Once it looks like it's supposed to look in show light, move on.
Excellent. So this next question comes from Lee Drake. It's something that I'd like to know. What was the worst case of haunt burnout that you've had to deal with? And if you had that, how did you deal with it?
I don't think I've ever had haunted house burnout. I have been in the industry 28 years. I've been doing haunted house stuff. Here's what's awesome about haunted houses. I can focus on actor training for a year or two and really focus and hone actor training. And then if I start getting bored of actor training, or I have a good handle on it, Then I can move back to stilt walking, and I can design different types of stilts and design stilt costumes, and I can focus on that for a year. And then I can say, you know what, I really love decorating sets. And then I can focus on decorating sets for a year. And then I can focus on airbrush makeup for a year. Then I can focus on sculpting and making masks for a year. And then I can focus on, I'm going to get into controllers and servos, and I can do that for a year or two. There's no reason to get burned out in the haunted house business because there's always somewhere to go. And everything that I learned then doing sets, doing costumes, doing makeup, doing servos, I can bring right back to actor training. I can bring right back to, by the time I go back around in that cycle, I've learned so much more that I'm better at the thing that I stopped doing because I thought I had a handle on it or I got burnt out doing it. I'm better at it and I enjoy it more. So you can just jump from thing to thing. There's always something new. Right now, learn how to make silicone masks. That's in the haunt industry, and it's pretty cool. I'm kind of bringing latex back because I think there weren't enough latex mask vendors actually at Transworld the last go round. So I got back into latex mask making because I think I saw a hole in the industry. I think we needed more latex masks. And that's one of the things I'm doing with Stiltby Studios and Haunt Dogs, my new company, is I'm finding those holes and I'm trying to fill them. And that'll keep me busy and I won't get burned out. I suppose I was burned out. I had a rough director job and I kind of felt like people were working against me there. So, I'd go to work and I'd do a good day's work. I'd paint something blue. I'd come in the next morning and someone else had painted it green. It's like, man, okay, I'm kind of grinding my wheels. And I really retreated into doing YouTube videos. I retreated into the industry more than the particular haunted house that I was at, which I think in the long run was a detriment to me. But for a long time, I was an industry guy as opposed to a one haunted house guy. And one of the things that I said when I started talking with the Dark Hour folks was, I want a haunted house home, because Alan Hops was associated with haunted houses, but he wasn't associated with one haunted house. I didn't have one haunted house that I had the chance to make great. And what I'm trying to do at Dark Hour is, now I want you to think of Dark Hour. I want you to think of Lucy Moore, the owner, who is the reason why I'm here and the reason why Dark Hour is here. And I want you to think about Alan Hops, because I work my butt off, as do many other people at this show. By no means am I the only one, but I have a home haunt. I have a haunt that I feel at home and that I'm very invested in with Dark Hour Haunted House. And I think that is something, to have an identifier like that is huge. I have a haunt to call my own. It's hard to be a haunted house guy without a haunt. So that's something that I really wanted to correct in who I felt I was. If I'm going to be a haunted house guy, I should have a haunted house that I work with a lot.
Excellent answer, and I'd tag on to that. Lee, is if you can't find one that feels like your home, move on to the next one. I've worked at several haunted houses, and you'll find that one that feels like home eventually.
And you know what? They're going to close. Sadly, they're going to burn down. If you find a reason to love it, that reason is at every haunted house across the country. Whether your haunted house is a pallet maze in a goat field, or if it's inside an old Walmart and it's a multi-million-dollar show. The same things to love are in that multi-million-dollar show as are in that pallet maze. I think that goes back to that whole spirit of the season and getting that rush from the pheromones of the guests as they get scared. And you can have a conversation or look at something, you hear screaming in the background, you hear the soundtracks going. There's an energy and a vibe that all haunted houses have. And that's one of the cool things that'll keep me haunting forever.
All right, and we'll move on to the next question here. It's from Shellen. She asks, how do you handle parents that want to drag their young children into your haunt, but they're children that definitely don't want to go in?
Well, if they want to pay and they want to go in, then you let them in. I don't ever feel the need to scare children who are already there. The job of a haunted house is to get them scared. I think a haunted house is supposed to be a pressure release. Kids don't have any pressure. They don't have any fears they have to release or let go or put a face on. They don't need that public service. So they come in and they get scared by the environment. The environment does the work. That's why we make it cool looking and scary looking and creepy and fun. I don't try and break character. I don't necessarily try and make the kid laugh. I'm not going to stand there for 30 minutes with my hand out trying to get the kid to shake hands. You know, I don't think you need to do that. I think respect the environment that you're in. Let the environment do the work on the kids. You don't have to jump out and scare the kid. And a lot of times, even if you jump out and scare the parent, that's going to mortify the kid. So often, they don't get the best show from me because I just want them to move through the environment. If they don't want to be there, I want to get a certain amount of fear out of my guests. If I have that fear, I don't need to push them further. So I like, and even that's a good question, and I want to expound upon that. Even guests who come through and they want to crack jokes, that's their way of having a good time. It is our job as actors to not take it personal. Put on the armor of your character, let that person crack jokes. Maybe you can crack jokes with them, or maybe you just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing and let them have fun in the way that they want to have fun. I know that's an alien approach, you know. Everybody wants to be like, screw that guy, he's a jerk. Okay, let him be a jerk. Him being a jerk doesn't affect how much I love Halloween or how much I love scaring people. You're going to have one butthead in every 100 people who comes to your haunted house. So in a 1,000-person night, you're going to have 100 buttheads. If you can adjust your attitude to where the buttheads don't bother you, then that whole problem goes away. If they're destroying something or if they're punching you, that's a different story. But if they're just being a butthead over there in their own space, let them be a butthead and don't worry about it. Let guests have fun. There's a thing that went around a while ago, and it went around Facebook, and I haven't seen it this year, hallelujah, but it was how to not annoy actors in a haunted house or something like that. And I just thought that was the most self-centered thing, the way that it was written. I really did not like it. I've written this whole big rebuttal on it, and I was going to say, I hate this because, and then I realized, oh, it's kind of dying out and going away. That's cool. And if I put this out here, it's just going to make it go further. But it's about the guests. If as an actor, if we can focus on the guests and help make sure they have a good time and get the experience that they wanted to get, and sometimes we have to figure it out. We have to figure out what they want to get out of our haunted house. Sometimes it's scared. Sometimes it's not scared. If they don't want to get scared in the haunted house, but they have another way they want to have fun or enjoy the experience, it's our job to figure that out and make sure they get it. If they want to feel like a superhero when they leave because they survived, great. Tailor that experience for them. You know, just miss them. Perfect. Awesome. They don't have to be scared to feel that way. Sometimes they want to get scared. But as an actor, we should read the guest and give them what they want.
Excellent. So, and that post you mentioned, that really drove me nuts when it came out too. I feel the need to say that. I was
so self-centered, like it's their universe. You know,
oh, yeah.
You're not going to scare everybody in a haunted house. And getting mad about it, you know, maybe that's not what that guest was there for. They came to crack jokes. If you're a smart actor, listen to their jokes. They might be good at it. And then you can pick up and use those jokes down the road. A lot of my best lines are lines that customers assumed I was going to say. I listened to it and like, okay, ding, stolen. Put that in my pocket. I'll save that for later. And the next group of people that I talk to, I use their line. So, you know, listen to your guest in every way that means. If you can listen to your guest's body language, you're winning. You know when they're scared. You know how much movement you have to do to get them scared. So just listen to your guests, both in what they say and how they act and their body language. If their body language says they're scared too much, let up. If they're scared the right amount, keep going. Sorry.
All right, so I think we just got about two more questions here that we haven't gotten to. This next one is from another one from Philip Shalou. He asks, if you could go back in time and have lunch with your pre-haunting self, what advice about the business would you give yourself that you didn't consider when you were starting?
Boy, my pre-haunting self. I'm having lunch with a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? I don't know any other way to do it. Uh, I I don't think I made any huge wrong turn that I have to go back. Every turn in my road, every twist, I learned something, and I think what I learned has made me a more peaceful person, and in that is a lot of happiness. I used to haunt with rage. I don't think that's the best fuel anymore. Um, and maybe it's that. A lot of the stuff that frustrates you doesn't matter. If you can back up and look at your world from a higher viewpoint, meaning, right now I'm in this room, I'm in this office, and every problem is right here. It's right here on my computer screen. It's right here in my desk. It's right here in these piles of papers. My office looks terrible. And all these are little problems or little things that are gnawing at me. But if I back up out of my office and I look at it from 100 feet above, there's a lot fewer problems. And if I don't address this pile of papers over here, it's probably not going to be a big deal. So back up and look at what those problems are from a higher level and solve those problems that are going to be a big deal. And then you can even back up even further. So it's look at the big picture. I guess that's the advice I would give myself. It took me a long time to get there. It took me a long time to get to look at the big picture of haunting and haunted houses and why we do this. I really feel I have a calling to work in haunted houses and scare people. I really feel that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So I wouldn't say anything to that 9-year-old to veer him off the path he's on. Haunted houses has taken me to other countries. Haunted houses have taken me to many beautiful parts of the world. I've met so many interesting people. My wife I met in a haunted house, and I think she's my soulmate. Every now and then I say, thank you, haunted houses, because haunted houses in general have given me a lot. So yeah, I push and I give back to them. I throw it out there. I do the YouTube channel. I get phone calls every day from people all over the country. My mold is stuck. What can I do? I've mixed silicone wrong. What can I do? How should I paint this wall? What can I do? Will I ever get the smell out of this refrigerator that a friend gave me because I want to use it in my kitchen scene? But if I open the door, everybody vomits. I've actually gotten that phone call. But at this point in my, I guess, career, give back. I will give all of me to haunted houses because they've given me everything I am.
All right. Well, the last question we had was from Don Nichols. We've kind of already answered it, but I'll ask it again just to see, because it's kind of worded different. It's you've taught me how to make props with so many interesting unconventional materials over the year. What are some of your top favorites that you won't find at a craft store?
All right, at a craft store. You cannot find decent clay and plaster at a craft store. You have to go to a ceramic supply store. The craft store does not have leather. In order to be better at costuming, I worked part-time at a leather shop, Candy Leather, to learn leather work. I worked as an electrician's helper for half a year to learn electrical stuff. I worked as a plumber's helper to learn plumbing and PVC and fitting connections, because those are skills I could use as a haunter. But the things I won't find at a craft store: good foam, good anything you won't find at a craft store. Hobby Lobby is good in a pinch. I have to make this right now. Okay, go to Hobby Lobby. But if you really want to make something awesome, you're not going to go to a craft store. And when you're dealing with foam, you have to find an EPS manufacturer, EPS, expanded polystyrene manufacturer. They have 3-inch thick foam in sheets. From an EPS manufacturer, I can buy a chunk of foam that is 3 foot by 4 foot by 16 feet long, and that is $600. That is a lot of freaking tombstones for a low amount of money. So it's actually, the more you get off the beaten path, the more you learn about plumbing, the more plumbing things you'll find to use in haunted houses. The more you learn about setting up retail stores, the more retail store stuff you'll find to use for haunted houses. So really, it's just about paying attention. The world is talking to you if you listen. How to make stuff is out there. I don't ever consider myself a student, a teacher. I don't consider myself a teacher. I consider myself a student. And a lot of times I'm a student just of nature, to find out what does what things, can I use. And sometimes the formulas just pop into my head because I've used this for this and this for this, but it's not going to be in a craft store most of the time. A craft store is that, boy, this is going to sound terrible, it's the lowest common denominator of making stuff, because the craft store is for people who want to make stuff but don't want to invest a lot of time in learning what they need to learn to make cool stuff. And if you're a soccer mom, don't take this the wrong way, but the craft store is for soccer moms who want to make stuff while Billy is at school. The craft store is for people who want to piddle. If you want to do woodwork, I don't think going to Hobby Lobby and buying the pre-routed plaques, the letters, and gluing them together counts as woodwork. Go to a woodworking store. The more specialty stores, the places that you're going, the more you're going to get into it and learn. And I'm not learning woodwork to be a better woodworker. I'm learning woodwork to be a better haunter, because I'm going to learn about new glues there, because there's glues for wood that they don't use anywhere else. But this one kind of wood glue, if I put it in a bottle and I drizzle it over water, it makes spider webs that I can just pull out immediately and stretch up and put up. So chase materials down the rabbit hole. Go as far down as you can to find out what things are made out of, and then how can you use that. Everybody realizes or knew that when you put heat on plastic wrap, it shrinks up. Everybody knew that. Well, chase that further down the rabbit hole. If I shrink up that plastic around a skeleton, that's a pretty cool corpse skin. So chase your materials and chase their properties down the rabbit hole as far as you can. Get out of Hobby Lobby. If you need it, go there. It's good for acrylic paint. Hobby Lobby is good for that, but it's cheaper at Walmart. So, I use nothing from the craft store. Now, if I need feathers, I can buy a bag of feathers at Hobby Lobby, but they're all crap short feathers. There's a lot of better places to buy feathers from. I dig, I research. I swear, one of the things I want to do at Trans World or one of the other shows is maybe MHC. I want to have just a class where it's all materials. Where do I get stuff? How do I find a plastic supply house in my area? Because I want a sheet of Sintra plastic to make weapons. At Home Depot, even Home Depot is kind of not the best place for a lot of materials. It's good for some stuff. It's above Hobby Lobby, but there's only so many garage sale signs you can glue together to get decent plastic to make a knife. For a long time, I was doing that. And then I flipped to an industrial plastic supply house where I could buy 1/4-inch thick foamed PVC. And that was a game changer as far as making cool stuff went. So I barely get anything from Hobby Lobby.
Excellent. So that was the end of our questions. We ran out of stuff to talk about here. Do you have anything, any websites or anything you want to plug before we go off the air?
Um, well, come and see Dark Hour Haunted House. It's pretty cool. It's in Plano, Texas. We do 8 shows a year. I know you guys are all busy right now with October, but look on our website. Pretty much every month we have something going on. We take off November. We take off part of January, but there's a show Valentine's Day. I mean, this kind of is a heaven for me because it makes my year into a year of Septembers, which is kind of a nightmare because September is always your crazy busy time. But it's a wonderful place to be haunting right now at Dark Hour. We have a great facility, great staff, so I'm plugging that. I want to plug all the classes I'm going to do at Trans World. When you're getting ready to go to Trans World or go to MHC, look up my classes and come say hi. I don't know what I'm teaching yet, but hopefully it'll be interesting. I guess you should plug my YouTube channel, but if you're watching this, you probably know about my YouTube channel. It's Still Be Studios on YouTube. Please subscribe. I'm pretty close to 18,000 subscribers. It'd be really cool to hit that number. I think 20,000 subscribers would be really amazing. That's something that I'm kind of working towards, and one of the reasons why I keep doing videos. I guess I should plug. I want to plug Fright Props. That's a really cool company. Who they're not a craft store. You know, they have the motors that you need to make stuff move. They have the controllers to make it repeatable and safe. I want to plug Gorgalore. Now I'm just plugging all my friends' stuff, you know. Gorgalore's a great company. If you want finished stuff, go to Gorgalore. You want to make your stuff, go to Fright Props. Those are kind of my 2 homies. Poison Props, really cool animations. Really cool stuff at Poison Props. I'll plug them. I probably should have plugged my stuff, but, you know, those guys are really cool.
Awesome. So, well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us for the first AMA. It was brought to you by the Haunt Nation on Facebook. Join the group. It's all the conversation from the haunt industry without the spam. That's our goal. So check it out. Vendors, we do have a vendor list that I keep updated, so message me or any of the admins will get you on the list. But thanks for watching. This is brought to you by Return of the Living Podcast and Haunt Nation Magazine, hauntnationmag.com, returnofthelivingpodcast.com, as well as Sinister FX. So what Alan's
that says this is a plug for Slaughterhouse Studios. They make cool weapons.
Check out Slaughterhouse Studios. So thanks again for joining us, guys. It's been a blast, and it's almost the season. Happy haunting. You guys take care.
Go make stuff.